guys, welcome back to the No Holds Barred Network with another episode of Under the Ropes. I'm your host as always, the EVP of Giggles, the Heartbreak Chick, the Queen of the Indies, Tiffany. And today's special guest, I'm so excited. It's been a while since I've had a referee on the network, but you know how it is here on the Under the Ropes episode. We do everything independent wrestling, so please welcome referee Sean O'Brien. What is going on?
Hello. How are you? I appreciate you bringing me on. I am so excited to chop it up with you and with everybody tuned in right now watching. So this is going to be really cool.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm glad that we got you here. I love, again, everything independent wrestling, right? It's the place to be right now, I feel like.
I'm living all over the independent wrestling world. So.
Definitely. I love it. So
like anyway.
I know, right? Like it's crazy. So I try to get to everybody. There's so many people that I want onto the network. So I'm glad that we could make this happen. So like I said, it's been a while since we had a referee on the No Hold Barred Network. So I'm really, really pumped about it. So guys, please like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you have questions for Sean, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to answer all your questions. Just drop them into the chat. So all right, Sean, you ready to do this? Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So I like to ask everybody this. You know, there's a bunch of people here that might not know you. They might not know you. So I always like to go into the bare basic question of how did you get into professional wrestling?
So as a fan, I got into professional wrestling at a young age. My stepdad, who was, my dad, and, me and my little brother, we all used to watch it growing up and stuff. I became, I fell in love with it watching the old WCW stuff, like the old NWO stuff. That was, my jam. And then also I was very fortunate to grow up in the Louisville, Kentucky area, which if you know your wrestling history, like the Louisville, Kentucky area is real rich for wrestling, like for not just OVW. And, we used to have the contract with WWE and all that. But also, they used to have it. But then also, too, we had USWA back in the day that would come to the Louisville Gardens. I'm a little bit too young for that. but still, like that was, Louisville before OVW. And then OVW, of course, John Cena and Brock Lesnar and all those guys trained here. And, I got to grow up when I was younger going to see, a young Matt Morgan and like a young John Morrison and stuff like up in, my grandpa's hometown up in Indiana. So like I became a pretty big fan through that. That was probably about middle school age. And then it was like high school where I was like, okay, I kind of have an interest where I might want to get into this business. So because I actually worked at Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom. And at that time they used to bring, one or two WWE stars, like one of the big superstars for every show when they would come through. And at the same time, like Deuce and Domino were there. And then Santino Marella used to do like an MMA gimmick at OVW. That was really cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then, like I got to meet Kane doing that, working at Six Flags and all this different stuff. Oh, CM Punk was there at the time. He was working at OVW at the time. And I was working at Six Flags in the entertainment department. So I got to be backstage. And by this point, I'm probably about a senior in high school. And this is where I kind of like got a taste of what the professional wrestling business, like, is. Like, it's the perfect mix of like theater and athletics.
Right.
And that was literally what I did in high school. You know what I mean? Was play football and theater. I was a huge theater geek. And so pretty much like I had a, epiphany, and I was like, if there's some way I can get in this business, then I would love to. But at the time I was already so immersed in doing music because that was kind of my first love. I used to sing in professional choirs when I was in third grade and all kind of stuff. And so, wrestling kind of took a back seat until, late 20s, early 30s. And now I am where I am. So
it's crazy. It's a long journey.
That's kind of a long story short. I guess if it's, or short story long, I don't know how to say it. But there's a whole lot in between there, obviously, that I could, fill it. But
do you remember like
I was doing music like R&B and hip hop before I was doing wrestling. So that's why I ended up getting into the business so late. But it was music and wrestling were my first two loves, and I was gonna find a way to be successful in one of those two. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So
Do you remember like your first indie show? Like where and like what was your favorite match that, stuck out to you?
see, I don't know if you could count it as indie because like I was 10 or 11
Right.
going to W, you know what I mean, up in Austin, Indiana,
Hmm.
and I couldn't tell you any of the matches, but I know a memory that stuck out
Hmm.
was John Morrison was doing these like really cool breakdancing moves with my like youngest brother.
Hmm.
And after the show, because my grandpa was like, he helped promote some of the shows up there with the fire department. And what's crazy is actually, this is kind of a cheap plug for OVW. I don't work for them or anything, but cheap plug for OVW. Their first show back, their first live show back is up in Austin, Indiana, which is kind of cool.
Hmm.
But back in the day, they did a show in Austin, and my grandpa at the time helped kind of organize it and different stuff because he lived in Austin. He was, real involved with the fire department and all that stuff. And so we were hanging out after the show, and I remember having like, I don't remember what the conversation was about, but I remember having a long conversation with Matt Morgan, and I was like, this guy is the coolest, you know what I mean? And then my little brother, like I said, was breakdancing with John Morrison.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you any of the matches, but I remember those two things, and they were just two of the coolest guys. So then seeing them on TV was even cooler,
Yeah.
even. But, and then also, too, here's a funny story. I remember when I was this was probably 8th grade, either 8th grade or freshman year. Like I said, I was immersed in music. You know what I'm saying? And this is actually kind of an exclusive. I've never even told this story.
Oh, the exclusives here on the network.
So I sang in this singing competition because they did like this state fair singing competition type thing or whatever, where if you won it, you got to go on to the Kentucky State Fair and you could win like $1 million or something.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up, placing in the LaRue County Fair, which ended up getting me to go on to the Kentucky State Fair. But while I was at that LaRue County Fair, there was an independent wrestling show going on that was called Bad to the Bone Wrestling, which if you like look up some, IWA Mid-South history and different stuff, you kind of know a little bit about Bad to the Bone. Ian used to do some stuff there back in the day. And one of the wrestlers that I saw was a guy named J.C. Bailey. And I was a huge fan of him. And now, IWA Mid-South is home, which, we'll get to that, all this here in a little bit. Yeah. But IWA Mid-South is home, and J.C. Bailey's kind of an IWA Mid-South legend. And it's kind of crazy how, I guess things come back around or something. But, yeah, that was probably about 8th grade. And that was like my first true independent show because growing up, I never counted OVW as independent. You know what I mean?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
I mean, it is. Now that I know what is going on in wrestling nowadays, I feel like it definitely is an independent company, but I've never really seen it as such, especially back when they had WWE talent and developmental and all that. So, but that was probably my first, like, wrestling show, was OVW stuff, and then went to a Bad to the Bone wrestling show, but I didn't really know anybody, and I remember J.C. Bailey. That was the only one I really remember. There was a bunch of other guys on the show that I ended up like later in life pieced together. Like, I think that guy might've been there too. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
And then like my first like independent show my first show pretty much was the company I first worked for that ended up closing down, and then, got back into it and all that. Mm-hmm. So,
and here we are. John Perry's in the chat. He said, who is your favorite wrestler growing up and diva?
Favorite wrestler growing up was definitely Shawn Michaels. For maybe obvious reasons. My name is Shawn, Shawn Michaels. But also too, like, he was just everything, full of charisma, what I'm saying, super athletic. He was fascinating, especially as a child. And then, I grew up like middle school era, late elementary school, early middle school was, the DX era. And of course, what, adolescent preteen child doesn't like a dude running around screaming, suck it. You know what I mean? So,
times have changed though.
Times have definitely changed these days, a lot. However, back whenever I was, 12, 13 years old, I thought he was hilarious, and I thought everything DX did was so funny.
Right.
So, yeah, Shawn Michaels was my favorite growing up for sure. My favorite diva growing up was Lita, definitely Lita.
Yeah, definitely. How can you not?
Yeah. She was just so fun to watch. I love how she would work in the lucha style with with being a woman and all that. So yeah, Lita, and plus she was sexy.
Definitely. He also asked, can we follow you on Twitter? I have all his socials in the description, and we'll go over all the socials after the podcast as well. So definitely give him some love on that. So so next question that I have for you: what's been your most memorable moment so far? It's gotta be like probably tons, but there's probably like that one that's always gonna stick out.
Most memorable moment. Oh man, that's so tough because like that's literally what I like live for is the moments, and there's like little bitty things that I like that stick out. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a couple here recently that I've actually posted about. One of them, Calvin Tankman, when he made his GCW debut in Indianapolis. It was in like a 6-way, and like just being the ref for that, he showed out. The crowd was chanting his name. Twitter blew up. I think I even like raised his hand, and I was like, I was like, I effing love you or something, and he was like, love you too, bro, and raised his hand because Calvin's like one of my little brothers, and then the next day was when MLW announced that they had him signed already because the response was so big, you know what I mean? And all like that was a cool moment. Or, moments like whenever I reffed Leo Rush and ACH, and, just at the very end of it, like the words that they shared with each other that was between them, and just to be able to be right there and pat both of them on the back and be like, all right, come on, Leo, let's get it. And I raise his hand. You know what I mean? Like moments like that, it's just like, or to go all the way back to like, IWA Mid-South. One of my favorite matches of all time that I've ever reffed is actually on IWTV, if cheap plug for them.
Yes.
It's Matt Riddle versus Mance Warner.
Mm-hmm.
And beforehand, it was funny because Matt Riddle came out, everybody was clapping it up for him and stuff. And then, I was kind of acting like I was backing him up in the corner and stuff. And Mance's music had started playing, and he was just kind of, looking around. Because, like, if you've never seen a Mance Warner entrance at IWA, it's very similar to how it is at GCW, but, like, it's just a very chilling entrance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, in the best way. And I pretty much was, smartening Matt Riddle up to that before Mance had made his entrance or whatever. And once he came out, it was like you could just see Matt Riddle was just like, oh wow, like oh shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was pretty cool. There's so many different moments that because I mean, like, even special moments, like there was, I mean, because I'm a sentimental kind of guy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And here recently, I can't remember what event it was on. I know it's on IWTV at this point, but there was a match between two guys who are like little brothers to me because we all started at the same company. It was called UWA. It was one of those kind of entry level type, wrestling promotions, I guess you could say. And it was Sage Phillips versus Big Beef Gnarls Garvin. And both those guys, me and them, all three of us both started at the same place. And so just to be able to ref that match was something special. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, I know that that's not just one moment, but I couldn't.
Cool.
So much, like, and literally different moments happen every weekend.
Oh,
you know
I'm sure. I'm sure. I feel the same way, just being a fan, and like then I forget things, and then it's nice like when I get to go back on my phone or go through like my photos that I've taken at shows, and just to like relive everything again. It's just It's just special. Well,
Oh, for sure.
for speaking of like special, has there been that moment for you that like growing up watching, whatever in the independent scene or even on mainstream that you got to ref in real life?
Uh, oh yeah, for sure. I've got to work with Billy Gunn. I've got to work with Al Snow. I've got to work with Vampiro. I've got to, and all three of those were at IWA Mid South.
Right.
Um, got to work with let's see who else. Oh well. Oh yeah. Hold on, Gangrel. Got to work with Gangrel.
That's fun.
Yeah. There's shoot. Who else? Got to hang out with the Godfather. He is the coolest. Out to the Godfather. Let's see. There's quite a few of them that I've been surprised. Actually, the Billy Gunn one was quite the matchup. It was Billy Gunn versus Calvin Tankman.
Oh wow!
Back when Calvin was IWA Mid South champion.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool.
And Billy Gunn was such a cool dude, man. Such a wealth of knowledge and just willing to just pour it into everybody. And me and one of my big brothers, my mentor Isaiah, we ended up having a really cool conversation with him. And before we knew it, we looked behind us and there's literally a bunch of people behind us listening to our whole conversation. So
that's crazy. That's a cool moment.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is there ever a chance that you would love to break out of being a ref and be a full-blown wrestler?
Oh no. Absolutely not.
No. Come on, we're gonna put you in a death match. There you go. That's your first match in a death match. No.
No. I'm a zebra. I'm proud.
That's
so
cool.
but I will say that I did have a match, one single match, and it's cheap plug for these guys. It's on IWTV, but oh man, what's it called? It's called Derby after Thunder or something. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, my one single match I've ever had is on IWTV. It was a 4-on-4 tag match. Ended up getting in at the end of the match, and we did the Hogan and Andre spot. Because it was against a guy who is now a manager at places like IWA and Paradigm and stuff. His name is Ben Sharon. Boo that guy. We ended up having a thing going back and forth, and he was trying to take my senior official spot at IWA, and so we had a match. And then at the end of it, him and his little goonies jumped me. Even though I won, they jumped me, hit me with a chair, gave me a curb stomp onto the chair, and then cut my man bun off.
Terrible.
It was
How
pretty.
Dare you cut the man bun off? That's terrible. Unacceptable.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was joking with my friend yesterday, and she told me that she saw a meme that the starter pack to be a wrestler is the man bun is the criteria now, because I start seeing everybody's doing the man bun now, and I'm like, yeah,
it is popular. I do be seeing a lot of wrestlers rocking the man bun. Who was it? There was a wrestler that was talking about maybe starting to wear a man bun, but then they were like, but I don't want to, impede on you, Sean. And I was like, I don't know if that's a joke or if you're actually being serious with me.
Oh damn. But yeah, I've seen everybody, the refs included, doing all this. So well, speaking of that, what's the craziest spot you've ever been in?
The craziest spot that I've ever been in, well, Marcus Crane one time crushed my head in between two chairs.
Oh damn.
That was fun. I had let's see, actually just this past weekend, what was it, a week or two ago, at a company called AWR, I got suplexed, and that was the first time I'd ever taken a suplex, so that was random.
Yeah, you guys put in work too. I mean, like, I know a lot of refs that I'm friends with, and you guys put in work.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Yeah,
Definitely.
especially when we're the only referee. So,
Oh yeah,
uh,
definitely.
but yeah, nah. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Um, yeah, I would probably say that the craziest would be either that or I know that, man. There was one time Corporal Robinson. This was one of the first bumps that I'd ever taken, like in a death match setting, and so I was still pretty new to death matches as far as like being real efficient and getting all the glass out of the ring and everything like that. And I had taken what is Corporal Robinson's finisher called? I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a cobra. He like wraps your head behind you and then gives you a Russian leg sweep.
Oh man.
I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, yeah. And I ended up bumping onto glass and all kind of good stuff, and got a couple little cuts on my arm. But then, me being me, I try to make everything look good, and I kind of like bumped myself on my neck. Yeah, I learned my lesson on that.
Yeah, I tell everybody they're all crazy that they do all these crazy death matches, and
Yeah.
oof, we just saw G Raver this weekend go through freaking all this glass, and it's like, oh my god, like
That was so crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then what we had a couple of weeks ago at the GCW show, and what's it called? Nick Gage and RSP, and like that was just
Right.
like crazy, and like Chris got stitches, like. Man,
Yeah.
that's hard even to you guys. That you guys get in the ring, you ref these matches, and then you have all this glass and all the other thing, thumbtacks and all this. You guys could get hurt too.
Yeah. Right. Well, and like, it's crazy because like I try not to think about stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a very like positive vibes only type person, but like then stuff like what happened, in Tampa to Chris happens, and it's just like, oh man, like it could really happen to us. You know what I mean? Like, and so because what was crazy about the whole like Chris thing was he was actually supposed to leave spring break and come to the other venue and ref the second pit fighter show for ICW.
Right.
And he ended up getting hurt and everything had happened. And
you had to pull off.
Me and him were texting forth, and like I'd ref the first pit fighter show, and then I was supposed to be done. And so I'm a craft beer snob, and that 81 Brewing Company had like 30 different craft beers. So, so I was like, oh, like I'm gonna try one. And so I'd already started drinking, not like drinking, but I'd already had a beer. And then I found that out, and then coincidentally, literally right afterwards, as I'm finding out the Chris Levin stuff was whenever all the Teddy Hart stuff went down. So that was quite the
experience
timing, I guess you could say. So yeah, and then so ended up having to ref the second pit fighter show, which was cool. Like I had no issue with that, just because pretty easy to ref anyway, and there was no glass or anything crazy like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of fun. But yeah, man, it like the whole thing with Chris, it just made it real. Because also like. I have a friend of mine, referee John Gray, that some people may know. He actually, back in like the 2015 King of the Death match, he had to get stitches in his ear because he got hit with glass, and there was some light tubes that had got busted and ended up hitting him right in the ear and caught him, and he had to go across the street because there was a hospital. Coincidentally, thank God.
Oh goodness!
Across the street. So he went across the street, got stitched up, and was back for the main event.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
that's some serious. Like I said, I give you guys full credit. That's why we do these interviews. All of you guys are important. Everything's important in independent wrestling. Your job's so important. You got to make sure that the guys are good. You guys are good. Like, oh my goodness, it's a lot. So. Thank you for what you do. Definitely.
Appreciate it.
So
thank you.
So you worked so many promotions: IWA Mid-South, ICW, GCW, Black Label Pro, Unsanctioned Pro. So many out there. Is there a promotion out there that you haven't worked for that you would love to work for?
Um, H2O is one of them for sure, because I know that uh, a lot of those guys have been coming down to IWA here recently, and I'm big fans of those guys. I'm a big fan of Tremont anyway. Um, H2O is one that I'm trying to get up to for sure. Let's see. There's a couple out on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm trying to do like the MLWs and the Impacts, and then of
Right.
course, the ultimate goal. My ultimate goal
Mm-hmm.
is I want to make this a full-time job. So it's either, obviously make it a contract somehow, or get a contract somehow with WWE or AEW or whatever I got to do. Just because, like, as much as I would love to, make a full-time living off of being an independent referee, I don't know if that's ever possible.
You never know. You never know.
Just because, like, there were referees that had been refereeing for a long, long time who, just recently got their break or their big breaks with AEW and stuff, and even they had, like, Rick Knox, he had a shoot job up until, AEW became a, you know what I'm saying? So, like, realistically, like, I don't think it's possible, but you never know. I know I feel like sometimes it's a full-time job. So, even if I don't make it.
Definitely. Nah. It's great. And the way that wrestling is nowadays, even like an independent scene, it's like we got wrestling like every freaking day. It's crazy, right? Like you and me were just talking before, and I was like, okay, I was in Jersey this entire weekend, all the wrestling, like you get burnt out after a while, and then it's like, okay, more wrestling. Okay, yay,
Well, and like I was telling you, like this weekend was my first weekend off, and let's see, the last weekend of March was the last time I had a weekend off, maybe like the weekend before or something. And then I don't have another weekend off until the last weekend in May, I believe. So, and I may even still have something then. I just don't have it in my calendar. I just know that right now it's open. I think it's the 29th. Pretty sure it's open right now. So,
hit them up, guys. Hit them up. If you're watching, hit them up.
And then in June, it gets even crazier.
Oh,
look,
yeah.
I feel so bad for my shoot job, although I love my shoot job so much because they understand. They've even donated, like, deathmatch weapons and light tubes and stuff, too.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, man, my shoot job is awesome. But I had to take off literally, like, 2 or 3 Fridays in June. So I won't be at work at a Friday in June. Well, because I'm either, I got ICW one, and then I've got what's it called? Masters of Pain weekend with Pondo and all that. One of the weekends in June. So, like, so much is going on, just all across, just so much wrestling. Like, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan.
It is booming, and this is why I love the indies. It's great. You get a little bit of everything, and there's so many, sometimes the promotions run maybe once a month, maybe, once every other few months or whatever it is, and like you catch up, and then you can find other stuff. It's great. I love it. Is there a dream match of yours that you would love to referee for?
Yeah, maybe.
Can't think of anything off the top of your head. If you can't, we'll move on and maybe it'll pop up.
Yeah, not off the top of my head. Well, see, what's crazy is I've had a few matches that I feel like I've spoken to existence, or like dream matches I never knew I wanted type things.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, for instance, Leo and ACH, like the fact that I got to referee it, I felt like that was a dream match in itself. You know what I mean? Or like early in my career, I got to referee Isaiah. First it was Isaiah and Myron Reed. And I'm not sure if very many people tuned in are familiar with who Isaiah is, but he's like an old IWA original from back in the day. Grew up in IWA and stuff, and then now he wrestles for OVW. And he's part of the Legacy of Brutality and all that. Really, really great dude. But Isaiah is from the Louisville area, and then so is Myron, and both of them have very similar styles. At the time, they both used a swanton, so they told a very cool story with that. You know what I mean? And then also, too, turned around, and there was a match that I'd actually posted on Facebook after Myron and Isaiah had happened. I'd said, now I need to see Isaiah and Shane Strickland. That would be great to see. And it ended up happening just on some crazy stuff shortly after. You know what I mean? Like, It was just weird. And so, but, and then also too, like Matt Riddle was another one that I was just like, it'd be really cool if I get to work with him. And then I ended up, Ian announced him like a month later, you know what I mean? Because that was at IWA.
It always happens, right?
Like speaking things to existence has happened almost my entire career, you know what I mean? So, like, nothing I can think of at this moment in time. But
okay, well, if you think of
it happens all the time.
Just that's what happens with the podcast. Like, you always like forget. Like,
if I see this and this, and, you know, and
definitely.
It's just like, you know what I mean?
I hear ya. Dave Wrestles in chat. He said Sean's always a busy man.
Yeah, I try to be. It keeps me out of trouble.
Okay, so when I put it out of the network that you were coming on, right? We were Mouse wrote that he hates you for 4 years now.
Mouse loves me.
And
hold on, do not let this man keep lying.
I know.
He doesn't like anybody, but I've already told Mouse that me and him have an opposite relationship. So anytime that he says that he loves me, or anytime he says that he hates me, it means he really loves me.
It's funny. I was so excited because I was like, okay, now I get to finally meet Mouse. I got to meet him this weekend. Got to take a picture with him, and I got to talk with him with my best friend Brad for a bit. So that was great, and we got to chat with Billy and stuff like that. But I want to know your best road trip story with Mouse.
Best road trip story with Mouse. Nothing really too exciting ever happens on the road trips with Mouse. Here's the thing, is that Mouse tries to say that I'm a terrible passenger, but he is literally the only person that says that I'm a terrible passenger. So, like, I don't understand what... There was maybe, like, once or twice where I, like, was, a little indecisive on what bang I wanted, and so I took maybe an extra 5 minutes, and he likes to like bring it up like it's a reoccurring thing or something. But that's neither here nor there. Best road trip story with Mouse. Well,
I hope you brought him some road donuts. That's all I know.
Nah, I don't get him anything because he'll never get me anything.
Damn.
Might give gas money. That's about it. But
oh man.
But yeah. No, I can't think of like the best. Or yeah. Most of the time, me and Mouse just get into like deep conversations and have really good conversations, and then we'll get to the venue and he acts like he hates me. And then on the way home, we have very good conversation. And sometimes I might fall asleep because back in the day, I used to never get sleep. Now I'm a little better about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't really think of anything that like sticks out though.
Oh, I gotta get Mouse on the network. I keep saying I have to write a note. That this is what always happens. It's like there's so many people I want to interview, and it's like I gotta make that list of people. And I definitely need to have Mouse on the podcast because he's great.
For sure. Yeah,
he'd be
but
fun
see,
to
but
chat
Mouse
with.
just hates on everybody. Like,
More of a reason to get him on the podcast. We could talk about it.
You're right. No, hey. But I do gotta say, like, Mouse is like one of the key people like that I owe so much to in my career, just because like he was taking pictures at IWA when I first started there.
Yeah.
And then I pretty much was just like, hey, how do I keep going? Like, what do I do next? You know what I mean? And he was the one who pretty much threw me in a car and took me to Black Label Pro first. And then that turned into me going to like Glory Pro and different places with him. So like we've taken tons of road trips together. And like I love riding with Mouse; it's a blast. Um, but yeah, he's probably one of the people who I owe like the most with getting me really going and stuff. And then also too, he's the one who will keep it 100% real with you if you want,
Right.
if you ask him to. You know, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. I totally get it. That's cool. Nah, he's good people. I gotta get him on. So for anybody who doesn't know who it is, it's a photographer and it's Billy Stark's stepdad. So like, definitely gonna get him on.
He takes great pictures.
Oh
man.
my
like,
God, he does. It was
like his stuff is amazing.
He does. It was funny because I was taking footage of Billy on the corner. And then he was running into position because somebody like retweeted my tweet. They were like, "Look at Mouse getting in position to take those photos of Billy." Like, it's true. It's great. Nah, he's a great guy. All right, let's get into some of these fan tweets. Good Cop, Bad Cop says, with Sean O'Brien being an anagram of insane bore, who is the dullest person in wrestling? Damn, really? The salt.
There really isn't a whole lot of like boring people in wrestling, to be honest.
Yeah. Damn. He likes to keep it interesting on the network. His questions always stick out.
Hey.
Oh no.
Oh man. I'm gonna call him out. I gotta say my little brother, Freddie Hudson. Have you heard of him?
Yes. I gotta get him on the podcast. He hit me up. I was like,
Please do.
I'm gonna get him on.
Yo, Fred is awesome. I love Fred, and he is so much fun. Me and him, like he's one of my good buddies. He crashed on my couch plenty of times. He lives in this area. He's a Grindhouse kid, which Grindhouse is a school that I help with here in this area. It's Too Tough Tony School. But yo, like he's gotten a little bit better about it. But if there's somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of personality, it's my boy Freddie.
Damn. Well, we definitely gotta get him on so he can rebuttal this or whatever.
All right. Yeah.
Damn it. Good Cop, Bad Cop. He's in the chat.
Freddie. Hey, I love Freddie, but he's a great wrestler too. Yeah. Really good wrestler. Mm-hmm. Like you can see him coming up in the upcoming Unsanctioned Pro show. Yeah. Cheap plug.
Definitely. Love Derek. We've had him on the network before. If you guys haven't checked it out, definitely.
Up too. I think he's on the Paradigm show too.
Yeah, it's so good. So good. Yeah, I'm going to have him on. Yeah, I just have to find time between whatever I have scheduled right now I got going on, and I'm moving, guys, so I'll definitely make it happen. Like I said, I have a list, so once after I move, I can start rescheduling all my peeps that I want to get on. Everything Pro Wrestling. Hey, Conrad, go check him out. Love him. Everything Pro Wrestling. He says, what do you do to stand out as a ref compared to others? And have you ever accidentally been in an awkward in-ring moment being out of place?
Yeah. Okay, so when I was doing R&B, that was kind of when I started growing my hair out. And actually it had a lot to do more so with my ex-wife. She was, into the long hair and loved playing with the hair and all that. So it was more for her. Mm-hmm. However, when I started doing the refereeing stuff, obviously I had long hair and I was just kind of keeping it. I was still kind of back and forth in between the music and stuff. And people just kind of started calling me referee Man Bun, and it wasn't like a thing that I really, wanted isn't the right word, but it wasn't something that I was just open to, I guess. It was just kind of like, that's funny.
Right.
But then there was something that was kind of to it, you know what I'm saying? Certain people would call me that, and that was the only. There's some wrestlers who they'll be like, oh, do you know Ref Sean? And they're like, who? And they're like, oh, Man Bun. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then somebody had suggested shirts. And I was just kind of like, I don't know, just because I don't know if referees should have merch. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's a thing. But, times have changed and all that good stuff. So I ended up getting referee Man Bun shirts made. Actually, somebody made me a graphic, and I was like, okay, you sold me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, that's usually how it goes.
All right, let's do it. And so ended up getting shirts made, all that good stuff. And I sold some of them, but more of them I traded with the boys for their shirts. So it
Yeah.
worked out either way, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I had shirts and like they were kind of a thing. And then once I started to kind of run out, people were like, "Oh man, do you have shirts?" and blah blah, blah and all that stuff. Well, then, so that was kind of what I guess that was kind of what helped me stand out. However, there was a certain point in my career where I felt like I was at like a roadblock. And like I was saying earlier, the ultimate goal is that I, want to make this a full-time job. Like whatever I got to do it, whether it be WWE, AEW, if Impact sign me and I'm able to make it a full-time job somehow that way, you know what I mean? Whatever I got to do. But there were certain referees that are on TV that their advice to me was, you obviously got to cut your hair, you got to do certain things. At one point in my career, I wore my glasses, and they were like, you can't wear your glasses, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so that was the reason why I cut my hair. I actually was the one who had made that decision, and kind of, it's been 2-3 years since it happened now, but behind baseball, I guess, or behind the scenes, the whole thing with me getting my hair chopped off in the ring was kind of my idea. Ian, it actually kind of shocked Ian because, well, the weekend before was WrestleMania week in New York. And I had went up there, refed, for Black Label, and I'd refed for Black Label, and there was something, Black Craft. I did Black Crafts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that show. Whoo, buddy. I ref for, all that. And then, rocking the Man Bun. And then the following week, coincidentally, was my one and only wrestling match I've ever had. When I walked in, I said, "Hey, Ian, what would you think if I got my hair cut after the match?" And he goes, "What?"
Oh, wow. And
I was like, I don't know. Like, what do you think? And he goes, "You would do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And he's like, "That's cool. That way they can leave with their heat and, blah, 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 and all, and everything like that." And so that was the reason why the reason why I cut my hair was just because I had so many people giving me all this advice saying that I needed it. Well, a few TV referees telling me that I needed to cut my hair. And so I felt like my next step was to start doing different tryouts for Evolve, for, to try and get to NXT or the Impact tryouts or like different stuff. And so, so that was the reason why I cut my hair. Mm-hmm. However, certain things that kind of happened and different stuff, I was, had a couple of mess ups in the ring that lo and behold, I felt like I wasn't having as much fun anymore, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like Samson getting his hair cut off and losing his strength. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then coincidentally, the pandemic happened.
Right.
And during that time, I ended up growing this huge beard, grew my hair out because my hair grew back really fast, and all that good stuff. And if you look at the first IWA Mid-South show back, like, you see it, like, my hair on the sides is all out to here. Like, I have a man bun, but, like, I have this huge beard. And I was just kind of, like, I fell in love with wrestling all over again because during the 3 or 4 months that we had off, well, that I had off personally, because, like, I really didn't miss a whole lot. It was really, like, 4 months, but the last 2 was, like, really, really depressing as far as pro wrestling goes. And I had, like, thoughts of, man, is this going to come back? Right. I really don't feel like watching it anymore because I miss it so much and all that. You know what I mean? So
it was a lot.
It was a lot. And so when it came back, I had the Man Bun back, and it just felt like wrestling was back. And then not only that, but it felt like, hold on a second. And then not only that, it just felt like things were literally starting to, like, fall in my lap. Like, I ended up, getting opportunities with GCW, with ICW, No Holds Barred, getting opportunities with, all these different companies that, like, I was fans of before the pandemic. And I was like, I want to try and find a way to get there. And, it ended up happening for me. And and I was able to still rock the man bun. You know
There
what
you
I mean?
go.
So
I told you it's like the starter pack. It really is. Like,
so I don't know, like that's kind of a long-winded answer to that question as far as like what do I feel like helps me stand out as a referee, because like at this point in time right now, when I started it wasn't like this, but at this point in time there are a lot of really good referees right now.
there is.
Like a lot of really good
There's a
referees.
lot.
I'll go ahead and shout some of them out: Chris Levin, Adam Galt, my big brother, my mentor, one of my best friends in this business, Max Recon, AJ Kissinger, whatever you want to call him. Aaron Greider, who is, only been refereeing for like a year and a half. I'm kind of biased because he's, kind of my young boy, but Aaron Greider's killing it right now. Like so many good Saber Dorado that's, up on the East Coast, like so many different refs that I can shout out. There's, killing it. Odie, Robert Brown out on the, West Coast. And then, that's just referees that aren't on TV. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's why I always say it's very important. You guys are important to the scene as well. Very important. Let's move on to another fan tweet. MGB Graham said, one of the things that really annoys me is when the wrestler looks at the ref so they can see when they need to kick out. Immediately this isn't the finish. Is it not possible to tell this from the count out loud, or handing hit the ground as you count?
Yeah, I kind of know what he means by that, and it could be, kind of bothersome sometimes. But that's why, as a referee, we're trained, whenever we slap the mat, to also say the number out loud.
Right.
So.
Definitely. Okay, next fan tweet is from Drucifer. Drucifer says, "Dear Man Bun, when a pin is broken up in a tag match, is it because the tag partner is touching the person pinning, or because their actions physically stopping the pin from happening? Also, why are there double pins a thing? Love, Drucifer Jones."
Okay, so I have always seen that if a wrestler who is pinning the person is touched by, an opposite team, opposite team person or whatever in a tag team match, that gets broken up. Not necessarily, them moving them off of someone. If they just touch and make contact, it breaks the pin. You know what I mean? So I hope that answers Drew's question. Shout out to Drucifer, one of my favorite people. But yeah, as far as I've always been taught, once contact is made by an opposite person of the other team onto one of the guys making the pin, once contact. But he had said something about a double pin. That doesn't really count. Although certain promoters will tell you, will tell tag teams, or they will tell the referees, don't count it if they're trying to do a double pin, because that's not a legal pin.
Right.
It's technically not a legal pin. However, indie wrestling,
Yeah, anything kind of goes.
If two guys in the same team are touching and, pinning one guy,
Right.
then you're just going to count to three because of indie wrestling. But
Right.
there are some promoters, like I know Ian Rotten, he tells us referees, and he also tells the guys, do not do a double pin. And if the referee sees you doing a double pin, don't count it. So
I guess it just really depends on the promotion, pretty much.
Exactly.
So,
yep.
Thanks for your tweets, guys. Appreciate it. Okay, so I have two final things that we're going to talk about. If you guys have any other questions in the chat, please drop them. So let's talk a little bit. What do you have coming up, so if people want to come see you?
I got a lot. So
he's like, let me pull up the calendar. Hang on a second.
Well, every Thursday we got IWA Mid-South. This coming Thursday, Ricky Shane Page is going to be there. And then Ricky Shane Page against Kevin Giza is going to be so fire. And then Jake Christ and Tyler Matrix for the championship. Tyler Matrix just won TPI, and he won the belt from Jake. So yeah, that's this coming Thursday. And then also, too, I'm going to be at Crux Wrestling in Tennessee for Carrie Awful. And then we've had like 3 or 4 pretty much like lifetime professional wrestling fans from this area who passed away here recently. And one of them is a lady named Donna, Miss Donna, and we are having a show for her on this coming Sunday coming up. And that's going to be, man, like, but she passed away. And then we also had a guy named Vic Philpott passed away, which we're having a show for him called the Hybrid Cup, which it's IWA Mid-South. It's on the 16th. It's the same weekend and in the same venue as Pro Wrestling Trainwreck Southern Sickness, which I'm also part of. But the Hybrid Cup, it's got like Mance Warner's in it, Oren Veidt, Calvin Tankman, John Wayne Murdoch is already announced. I'm trying to think of who else. But it's a hybrid cup for named after Vic Philpott, because it's pretty much kind of his concept. It's something that he had pitched to Ian a long time ago. But like the first round of the tournament is just a traditional wrestling match. Second round of the tournament is knockout or tap out only. And then the third round of the tournament is a no rope barbed wire death match.
Right.
So it's going to be some wild, crazy shit. Alice Crowley just got announced for it. So potentially she could end up in a death match. And Toby Farley. That's the last one.
Nice.
So those 6 have been announced so far. There's 12 total that's going to be announced. So, and then the weekend after that, Paradigm is making their return in front of live fans. Cannot wait for that. Paradigm Pro Wrestling.
I love
and then
get down
Glory
there.
Pro. And then in June, I've got ICW No Holds Barred up in your part of town.
Yeah.
Showboat.
Yep.
So at the Showboat. So that'll be fun. And then Masters of Pain weekend, and also I can't think of what the other tournament's called. But it's the IWA East Coast double shot weekend, and then Girl Fight is also running as part of that too.
Oof.
So
there's a lot. There's a lot. There's a little bit of everything for everyone, right?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Just follow me on social media. You can see where I'm at, because
you
I'm always posting about it.
There you go. Definitely. And a couple of names you've dropped, I've had on the No Holds Barred network as well. So you guys will be very familiar with a lot of the names too. So I always like to end off my interviews with asking, if someone's trying to get into the business, what's a piece of advice that you would give?
Best piece of, it's very, I feel like it's cliche, but it's very, very important to keep your ears open and your mouth shut. And, always, always, always listen, because there's so much knowledge that's passed around. And then I would also say, don't be afraid to spread your wings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because staying in the same place and staying stagnant, I feel like is boring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're talking about the same board. That's what's in the same board, is just staying in the same place. Like I love being able to go to my shoot job, and they're all like, "Hey, where were you this weekend?" I was like, "Well, Friday I was in Indianapolis. Saturday I was in St. Louis. Sunday I was in, whatever." Like, it's cool.
It keeps it interesting. And it's good too, because even like people like me that actually see you on TV, whether like it's IWA South or Black Label Pro, and I'm here on the East Coast, and then when you come over to the East Coast, and I see you, and it's fun. So like I love meeting all the people that are not just tri-state people. And I love seeing West Coast, the Midwest, wherever everybody's from. So it's it's nice to finally meet everybody. Indie wrestling,
definitely
brings us together.
That's one thing too. Is I had to learn how to get good at Twitter, because I felt like it was a community that I was missing out on over there. Because I'm halfway decent at Facebook, because when I was doing music, like that was kind of my tool. But like, wrestling Twitter is a whole nother animal, and I was just I kind of had to learn how to get good at Twitter. So, but
definitely.
But because, I've got connected with all kinds of cool people that I can't wait to meet. So
it's great. I was just talking with somebody earlier in DMs, and we haven't met yet, and we were trying to figure out when can we meet, and we're like, it's so great to meet people across Twitter in the wrestling community. It's a very powerful thing. It's a great thing as long as it's not toxic, right? Like, as long as it's not toxic, but it can have such a positive influence. And even this weekend I got to hang out with Tiffany. Everybody knows the other Tiffany from Arkansas, and she's always on IWTV. Like, cool. I love her. Like, and we got to like we finally got to like go out and have drinks and shoot the shit. And as you guys know, like, I was hanging out with my best friend Brad and my friend April, and G Raver had drinks with us, and it was just like, what a cool thing. Like, again, as a fan, like, I'll always be a fan first, podcaster second. You know, but like, how cool is that to even just like shoot the shit, have a drink with your favorite people? You know, it's a great thing. Yeah. So, you know, Twitter's great. Yeah.
And Tiffany's hilarious. I saw her all over the place in Tampa.
Yeah. She's the person to go hang out with, and we were having a ball. Like, it's just again, it could be a wonderful place, social media, and I appreciate all the people on there for all the good. So it's a great thing. So, but tell everybody where they could follow you. Like, again, all the links are in the description below, but please tell everybody where they could follow you, buy your merch, all that fun stuff.
Of course. So on Twitter and Instagram, it's the same. It's at official SPO502. You can add me on Facebook. It's Sean Patrick O'Brien, SEAN. It's the Irish way. If you want to add me on there, I know I'm close to 5,000 friends, but I'll delete one or two for you if you really want to add me on Facebook. So, and then as far as my Pro Wrestling Tees store, it's prowrestlingtees.com/official SPO502, just like my Twitter and my Instagram. It's prowrestlingtees.com/official SPO502.
Yes. Great. Go get some love, guys. Go buy some merch. Go support Sean. Go say hi if you see him at a show, definitely, because you guys are important. I love busting some of the refs' chops in the ring too. They love the love.
And if you ask anybody at IWA Mid-South, that's their favorite thing to do. They will give me so much crap. I'm talking about so much crap. Talking about, let's get a new referee in there, all kind of stuff. But the same fan who's sitting there giving me crap, he'll sit there and he'll give me a Dr. Pepper just as a tip. You know what I mean? Like,
it's always the greatest thing.
Like, Sean, you need something to drink, and he'll grab me a Dr. Pepper from the concession stand. Hey. Or then I'll go out in the parking lot and I'll see a few of them out there, and they'll be like, it's so funny whenever a new fan will be like, "Hey, Sean, man, you know I really don't hate you. Like you know you're cool, right?" And I'm, "You're fine. It's okay."
I was like the heels. I do the same thing. I like heckle the crap out of them, and then I'll see them later. I'm like, "Hi, like your match was amazing. Like, even though I booed the shit out of you, you're amazing."
We'll end it with this. The way that I originally got into the business, that I slivered my way into it, I guess you could say, was I used to go to UWA, as I was saying, where I started with Big Beef and people like that. I used to go to shows with my cousin, who was a wrestler. He doesn't really wrestle much anymore, but he was a wrestler back then. Was going to shows with him, and I was going as a fan. And one of the heels was coming out, and he was trying to heel it up, but this guy was maybe 85 pounds wet.
Oh, man.
He was a stick, and wasn't very tall, and he was trying to walk around, get heat and stuff, and he ended up getting up in my face, and we're all face to face. My cousin, one of my other cousins, was security. He comes walking over, and he's laughing because he knows that I'm just a fan. I wasn't going to do anything, but just in case, just to make it look like he was doing something, whatever. Well, then after the show, we're all hanging out, and I was there with my cousin, who was a wrestler. He was also on the booking committee and all that, was helping break stuff down. And this particular heel, he kept like side-eyeing me, and then he asked like a couple of wrestlers, like, "Hey, is that guy with any of y'all? Because I think he's like trying to beat me up or something." Oh, shit. And finally, a couple of the wrestlers was like, "Oh, dude, he's with Corey. You're fine."
Oh man, that's great.
up having a conversation, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I thought you were hanging out trying to whoop me or something," and I was like, "Nah, bro."
It's always the best to like mess with everybody. That I get some
Yeah,
joy out of it.
yeah, but that was more or less how I got into the business, was because I was going to those shows, and that happened, and then I would help break down and all that. And more or less one day I got thrown a referee shirt. So
there you go.
And here we are.
Pay your dues, right? As they always say, that's one of the things I always hear. Pay your dues. So,
yeah.
But I love it. But again, Ref Sean, like, you know, this was an amazing chat. I appreciate that you came on and you gave us some time and you told us some great stories. I love it. We got to get some other peeps on here that, you know, we talked about. We got to get Mouse on so we can talk about that. We got Freddie Hudson.
Absolutely.
I got to get on here so we can rebuttal everything.
Yeah, all those guys,
but I'm looking forward to seeing you in the ring. I can't wait for the day that we can actually meet and we can take a photo. Like, hopefully, maybe I'll see you at H2O since that's like kind of in my home promotion now.
Yeah,
so I love those guys.
I'm gonna try and get there one way or another. There's a lot of people from down here in my area that go up that way, so I'm definitely gonna try and get up there.
Definitely let me know because I gotta make the trip. I've been trying to make more trips out to H2O with their millions of shows going on now, but it's worth it definitely. So I love that there. And anyway, but guys, support independent wrestling. It's so important. It's great. It's fun. There's a little bit of everything for everyone out there. So definitely check out the indies and all that fun stuff. So guys, stay safe and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good night, guys.